Has anyone seen the Instagram photo of Brandon Routh and Dean Cain on the same flight?
Yes, that's great.
And Ralph's selling it with his eyes going.
Oh, they're both selling it. Yeah. They're both selling it.
You got two Supermans on a plane. How did that happen?
Yeah, they're on a plane. They're on opposite sides of the aisle, and Dean Cain is like 2 rows back from Routh, and they're both sort of looking at each other over their shoulders. Yeah, with their hands in their chins, going,
Honestly, I don't know how you thought a pair of glasses would keep people from recognizing me. It's kind of ridiculous.
Don't get me started.
Hello, Chicago. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Got a drink to that?
Welcome to Alternate Reality.
I'm ripping, Colin.
You're ripping. He's splendiferous. Ripping. Well, what is ripping?
I'm great.
It's a British term.
Fine.
I understand.
Holidays are over.
How are the holidays?
They're not over yet. You got another holiday coming up.
But that's a good holiday. I stay home on that.
That's a good holiday, as opposed to the bad ones.
Yeah, you know, that Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day is so funny.
And what are your feelings on Arbor Day?
Arbor Day sucks.
You don't get any swag.
They do a cartoon on Arbor Day.
No
there's
swag.
no toys, there's no cards, there's no holiday.
You're supposed to plant a tree. That's why.
No big dinner that you eat yourself into a coma.
Well, so basically, you tell me
good stuff.
You tell me I have to go out and buy a tree.
Yeah.
Spend my money.
Yeah.
To plant it. So where's the holiday?
There's actually a cartoon on it too.
You're making the world a better place.
But if you plant a Christmas tree, you can use it later in the year.
Okay, and then you cut that sucker down.
You cut it right down.
Then you can kill it and bring it in your
Next
house.
year, you plant another Christmas tree.
Arbor Day.
And you'd be like Charlie Brown and stand around it and sing Christmas carols.
It's the circle of life.
The circle of life. The circle of life. You know what? Every day's a holiday like, though.
Every day's a jolly holiday.
Here on the alternate reality, every day is a holiday.
Yes, it is.
Every day is a damn holiday.
Yeah,
is it Rusev Day?
Every day.
It's Rusev
Every day is Rusev Day. Yeah, the answer to the question for me is every day Rusev Day?
Yes.
Is that what it comes down to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Well, it was around the holidays there where they first introduced it.
No,
and I thought maybe he actually had a birthday in there.
It was before the holidays.
Well, yeah, I know, but they introduced it around the holidays.
I have no idea
It was
what
after Thanksgiving when they introduced
Biggest
it.
selling shirts
And
now
then they were,
for the company now, the shirts.
And then they were talking about his
Happy Rusev
birthday
Day.
at some point.
Yeah, his birthday was
But
Christmas.
now it's just every day's Rusev.
Every day's Rusev.
Well, that's great. That's great.
He's a wrestler.
Oh, okay.
It's wrestlers. Go back to sleep.
You tuned out already.
Hey, folks, Comic Book Man here. Welcome to the alternate reality. We're being joined today by our good friend, Rod Flash. Say hello, Rod.
Hello, Rod.
Also joining us is my trusty right hand, Bocepheus. Say hi, Bo.
How you doing, kids?
How you doing, kids? And our special guest villain for today.
Delicious.
Hell starting today.
Jetting all the way in from about 5 miles away.
10. Hey,
10 miles
don't
away.
belittle my commute.
Across the tundra.
The frozen tundra.
Is the one and only good old J.R. Jim Markowski. J.R., how you doing?
I'm great. It's great to be back in what used to be the video outhouse.
What used to be
Remember that? The good old those salad days?
We have not gotten together and done this since the video outhouse days.
It's been years.
The three of us, yeah.
They let me out of the home tonight.
They let you.
And I'm here.
He's got a curfew, though.
Yeah.
And how exactly did you get out of the home? Did you crawl under the gates?
You know, you can tie those
go
sheets
through
together.
You went through the vents. You went through the vents.
Yes,
Tell me you went through the vents.
I was just like David Hedison.
Yes. He did a John McClane.
You know, I saw that the other night. Hulu's got Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. My favorite episode of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, because I remember this when I was little, was The Mermen. That's the one with John Denneher.
Yeah.
He got the really bad German accent. And Nelson isn't even in that one. They've got what's his face in there?
Kip?
No.
Sparks.
You know,
Sparks?
No, you know the actor immediately.
C.P.O. Sharkey?
He was in Mysterious Island. God, I can't think of his name. But anyway, he's in that. But that's the one where they take the little action figure size mermen. They take them outside the sub. They shoot them full of juice. Then they grow to human size. Okay, then they shoot him full of juice again,
Make him
and they
giant.
turn into big enough to wrestle the model of the sea.
Yeah.
And that was like one of the first voyages of Model of the Sea that I ever watched when I was little, and I fell in love with that thing because you got this great big giant guy with a submarine in a headlock rolling back and forth while they're on the inside flying back and forth.
They don't make them like that anymore.
Oh man, I think that was so stupid, and I watched it again the other night on Hulu.
Yep.
Hulu has it.
Yeah.
Irwin Allen, quality TV.
They've only got the first 2 seasons. The
Black and white years.
First season's black and white. Second season was color. This merman thing, they was in color.
Such a fine show.
Oh, I tell you, another trip down memory lane.
When's the remake coming?
Oh, probably Lost in Space is coming to Netflix next year.
You know, I'm surprised that they've never done anything with either Land of the Giants or
Land of the Giants was stupid.
Voyage to the Bottomless. The premises on all these things.
Larry,
we're not exactly top right brain material.
No. As far as stupid goes, Land of the Giants was galactically
That is a critique
stupid.
you could give to anything with the Irwin Allen moniker.
Yeah, that's true.
But they've managed to bring Lost in Space back a couple of times, but nobody's ever done anything with Voyage or Land of the Giants.
Well, Lost in Space is sort of the crown jewel in the Irwin Allen oeuvre.
Yeah.
That and underwater shit's expensive.
Yes.
It's a pain in the butt.
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yes.
I guess that means the Aquaman movie was a pain in the butt to shoot.
Yes, it was.
Well, this is the day of digital. You could probably do digital watery backgrounds.
Fake water.
Sure. Yeah.
Thought bubbles in Aquaman.
But we digress.
Yes, we digress.
Today on the Alternate Reality, we're going to be doing an all-news episode. And, of course, we're coming to you from Alternate Reality, located at the intersection of 111th and Kenzie, beautiful downtown Mount Greenwood. Alternate Reality, where all your new comics are always 15% off every day for everyone. All first issues are always 25% off on the first day they come out. And all my books of the week, 2 of them, a kid's book and a regular book, are also 25% off all week long. So stop on down, get your comics. We're here all year long. And doors open. Doors open on New Comic Wednesday at 7 a.m.
God, that's ridiculous.
That's early.
Every week.
Is the sun up that early?
I think
No,
it's been a
sun's not
decade
up
now.
at 7.
It's been a decade now. It's been 7 a.m. But yeah, every week on Wednesday, doors open 7 a.m. On this all-news episode, we're going to start off with Bo. Tell me, which one you want to start off with? What genre? Wrestling, media, comic. Pick one.
Well,
Pick one.
J.O. not off through the wrestling.
Let's do it first.
We'll
get out of the way.
Okay.
Let's do it first and get out of the way. We were talking about Rusev Day before.
Rusev Day.
Vince, now tell me this isn't true. Vince is
true.
going to bring back the XFL.
He
didn't lose enough money on it the first time.
What was it, $1 million?
He lost more than $1 million.
No. He took like $1 million worth of stock. It's
100 million.
100 million. He took it out of his stock, which he owns. He still has a lot of stock, and may not be called the XFL, but it would be something football.
Just as moronic.
Something football related because
the ZFL,
said, as he
the
said,
YFL,
in that ESPN thing. He's never given up on that idea. Now, will this one fail? Of course it will, because there's only one football league.
Well, why does he want to do it?
Because he wants to, and he's an old man, and he's rich.
Oh, for God's sake.
And he loves football, apparently.
And he loves football.
And he's getting that big tax credit from
his buddy Trump.
Why doesn't he just buy a team, an NFL team?
Why doesn't he just buy an NFL
There
team?
was talks that he's in the running of trying to make a bid on the Panthers.
He can buy the Carolina Panthers.
Well, but I got a feeling that him and Puffy are going to start working together, try to sling some money on that one.
Wouldn't it stand the reason you'd actually live in Carolina to buy the Panthers?
Not really. I
Vince lives in Connecticut.
Most owners of most football teams don't live in the cities where they own them. I would assume. Well, that's fine for McCaskey. He's done wonders for the. It's done wonders for the Bears. I just assume he lived in Canada.
Jerry Jones does.
I just assume he lived in Canada and phoned it in so they can ignore him.
Most teams are owned by people who live in the states that the
I would need some sort of documentation of that.
You're never going to get that out of Bo because he blows stuff out of his ear on a regular basis.
I can look it up on my phone.
Yeah, I bet you can. Yeah. Don't stop me. I'll get off my phone. I'll start looking stuff up.
Expedia.
What cracked me up about the XFL when it came out was that it was supposed to. They said the ratings of Saturday Night Live was tanking, right? So he comes in there and says, "You know what? We can bring a little bit of theater back to Saturday night, and here's what we're going to do with the XFL. There's no fair catches, so you can obviously for football freaks know exactly what it means, what fair catch is.
Yeah,
and." We encourage the football players to get acquainted with the cheerleaders. And this was
storylines. Storylines. He's trying to build storylines. He's trying to turn it to wrestling.
The only thing in XFL that worked was the overhead camera, which is the NFL's using right now.
Which they're still using, which was like the very. I remember watching the first XFL game with you. Those were on Saturday nights, and they were on Saturday nights in the summer. Saturday night, I don't know what Saturday Night Live's problem was, but they weren't on when it first started. Anyway.
Well, I think it was reruns.
The season ended. Reruns.
Well, no.
We're getting slaughtered in the ratings and reruns.
There was one.
And
there was one game that actually went long when they were doing a live show. They had to keep delaying the show.
Yeah,
but there was just one of them.
No, but
it was Saturday afternoons. And I think
Saturday nights. No,
it was Saturday nights.
Yeah. It was Saturday nights, and it was in the summer. And by the time Saturday Night Live started, the XFL season was wrapping up.
Hey, he and I went to one of those games.
We didn't go to an XFL.
Yes, we did.
We did?
Yes, we did.
Where at?
At Soldier Field, the Chicago team. We went.
We did?
Yes.
Must have been a great time.
Man, I don't remember that at all.
Man, that was a very memorable day.
Man, I don't remember that at all.
He hate me.
He hate me. Whatever happened to he hate me?
He actually got a job in professional football.
Yes, he did. And funny enough, I think there's another player, Clinton Dix, started off.
There's a couple players.
He started
Clinton Dix.
That is really his name. That is his name. It's not made up. That is his name. And he's actually.
It's an old Little Abner character, isn't it?
Yes. But yes, Vince wants to get back into football.
It's insane. It's insane. Vince, if you're looking to throw money away, throw some money towards alternate reality. I could use a couple of bucks.
I could use a check.
Wait till Vince decides he wants to get into ballet.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Ballet with storylines.
Ballet with storylines. That'll work.
Ballet with storylines. Dean Ambrose. He is out with an elbow injury till September?
He is out for 9 months. Yeah, you hurt his elbow on a Raw a couple weeks ago. He landed funny on his elbow, which is unusual because Dean Ambrose usually works hurt, and he's usually hurt a lot. He landed. Bad. It was really bad. So basically, he's hanging out with Renee Young in Las Vegas, doing a whole bunch of cool stuff now because he can't do anything for 9 months.
Yeah. So
I guess he'll pop up on TV probably before that thing, but he won't be wrestling.
I was going to say, just because his arm is jacked up, that doesn't mean he can't come out. He's good on the mic.
He might pop up, walking around with his arm in a sling, but he won't be in the ring.
I got this strange feeling this is the way of them trying to break up the Shield again because most of you know right around Christmas time there was the tag team match where they took the belts off of the other guys and gave it to the Shield. Well, just not Shield, but Kurt Angle's long lost son.
When did Ambrose's arm get jacked up?
A week before.
Well, there you go.
So basically, they went, we need to do something with this. We have this program set up. Well, we got to do something.
Well, you know what they could have done? They could have just inducted a new member in the Shield. A new temporary member who once Ambrose gets better, they can turn on and drop off the edge of the ring.
You can put a vestige.
I just read something a couple of days ago that Finn Balor was supposed to be in there, but guess who stopped that again?
Triple H?
Vince.
Oh, Vince.
Because Vince doesn't like Finn Balor. So
he's not over yet.
He's not over yet. He's not over.
I don't think we need to see Finn Balor in a flak vest. His bit works just fine the way it is.
Yeah.
It's something about the guy that just Vince doesn't like for some reason. And he goes, this guy's not over. And it's like, well, you made him the Universal Champion, the first champion. You keep saying it every time he comes out there. It's something about him that's not over.
You know the nice thing about that? Vince will be dead soon.
Well, that's nice.
Wow.
Well,
Vince is 80-something years old.
See how fast he turns.
You were all on board with Vince
80-something years old.
Stan Lee just celebrated his 90,000th birthday or something.
95th. He's 95 years old.
Stan Lee just celebrated his 90-something birthday.
Vince is not young, so but
you were all on board with Vince in the football, but now
no, the football thing to me is Vince wasting his money.
Yeah, that's big time wasting.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, you go in. You did that once.
It did
crashed
work.
and burned, and now you're going to go back and do it again. What have we learned since then?
Nothing.
Not much.
That's not a good idea to do.
Nothing.
Well, how many? Especially not to get back to that because we're moving forward, but with all the problems the NFL's having right now with injuries and with
who are you going to find?
Well, no, with concussions. Yeah. Later on. Yeah. NFL is having a hard enough time as it is with publicity. You want to start a rival federation for football?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there'd be enough room for another.
In this climate?
You could probably find enough players. You got a whole bunch of guys who play college ball that never get drafted. So you can find players, but if they were any good, they'd be in the pros.
Well, go back to the XFL. That was the case back then, too.
If that's the case, why don't you just basically buy the Canadian Football League and move them here? Didn't they have the Indoor Football League?
But Vince doesn't play well with Canadians.
Put Bret Hart in charge of it.
Yeah, Bret Hart can be in charge.
It's not going to work.
Okay, you got any more wrestling news?
No, that's it.
Okay, we're going to move on then. JR can get into this. We're going to do media news.
Media news.
Oh, my God. Not to get into a whole review thing, but has everybody seen Star Wars yet?
Sure.
Yes. I have.
I've actually revisited a second time.
Okay, I'm the odd man out. I haven't seen it.
What's your problem?
I have a
He's a
life.
busy man. This guy's running us. He's here at 6 o'clock in the morning on Wednesdays.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
true.
you know, after we get done recording this, you know what happens?
What?
I keep working. You guys go off and do your life, and I keep working.
He falls asleep.
Nothing
If
else.
you're not needing me, I think I'll shut down for a while.
So,
Right. He's going to shut himself.
so you guys will have to explain to me
Yes.
what the fanboy complaints are about Star Wars. Now, as I understand it, like I said, I haven't seen the movie, but from what I've been told and from what I've read, it's a very divisive film.
Yes.
Yes.
It has fans either loving it or hating it. There isn't a lot of gray in the middle.
No
You
middle.
Although they're still paying to get the tickets.
either love
Yeah.
it, you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
And apparently, Mark Hamill plays Luke Skywalker in the movie, and he's doing and he is doing everything he possibly can to distance himself from his performance at this point.
Oh no.
No.
I thought I was reading some stuff where he says this isn't my Luke Skywalker, and I'm not happy with the way
let's
this
dig
is.
right into this. What?
And my question about that is, they handed you the script, they gave you a check, you did the part. What's your problem?
When Hamill read the script, that's where this whole line came from that you're seeing on headlines. This is not my Luke Skywalker.
It's not my Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
And that is the divisiveness with the fans. Luke does not turn out the way fans expected him to. Now, let's even rein this in a little farther. Tonight, it is crossing $1 billion worldwide.
Yes.
It is liked by many. The group that doesn't like it, it's that small group of hardcores who are very vocal. And we know this being in the comic book business. Science fiction in general has a very vocal group of fans. These are the people who have in their heads for the last several years formulated how Luke Skywalker's life should go after Force Awakens.
We know what his life is
And
supposed to be.
because the movie didn't follow that pattern, they're very
mad.
angry about it.
Well, he seems to have fallen into the same retirement plan as all the rest of the Jedis. You get old, you're a hermit, you die in a cave, and then your body disappears. Here's your
Was
retirement
that a
plan.
spoiler you just gave?
You just spoiled the film.
You just gave a spoiler.
Well, you know, same thing happened to Obi-Wan. The same thing happened to Yoda. Why wouldn't you think it wouldn't happen to Luke?
We're going to get into the minutia here, but Obi-Wan goes into hiding because of what happened in the
Well,
prequel.
okay, yeah.
But for Luke is a broken man at the beginning of Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Because of what happens previous to that. The group that he was training, I'm going to give spoilers because we can't really talk about this.
Let's spoil it.
The group he is training are all killed by Han Solo and Leia's son.
Yeah. Ben Solo.
Ben Solo. He's betrayed.
Ren.
All of his Padawans are killed, and Luke is just done. He's done.
We've done this before.
Well,
They did it at the end of Lucas's third film.
but that's how
Whatever the hell that thing
he
was called.
becomes Darth Vader. This is a different story about a guy who thought he was going to become the new leader of the Jedi and create a new band because he was the last one.
And instead, he's just a jerk.
And they've all been killed, and he realizes that the Jedi have been built upon hubris,
Hubris.
and it's time for it to stop. We have to move on. And that's one of the things that the fans are upset about. This movie has an undercurrent of legacy is fine, but you got to move on. You can't keep relying on what happened 30 years ago.
Well, that's the other thing that I've been hearing is the people who like it are saying that it's a good thing because we're breaking away from the original movies and we're starting to chart off a new course. We're not just going back and doing fan service.
Exactly.
We're going back doing some fan service, but going out of our way to push forward in a different direction. This is the first film in a
long time that feels like there's forward momentum to the storyline. And if Disney's going to continue to make these one a year as their game plan, they're going to have to go in some new directions, not keep relying on
the
nostalgia.
old chestnuts.
And that's where the fans are very upset about, and they're going to have to get over it.
And there's nothing. And Hamill's performance in this film is excellent.
It's great. It's great. It's career work.
He's got the best ending line that he's ever had.
Yeah.
It's a great ending line, and he's treated like an iconic figure. When he pops back up, people are like, "Holy crap! It's Luke Skywalker."
And luckily, there's a scene between him and Carrie Fisher in this thing because there was a big concern that since she passed away, her role in the next one is done.
It's done. Yeah.
That they wouldn't get to have a scene together, and they do, and it's a heck of a scene.
It's a heck of a scene.
But yeah, the fans are upset because this didn't turn out the way. And Snoke didn't turn out to be Jar Jar's brother. All that kind of nonsense.
He's the MacGuffin. He's not the villain. Right. The villain is someone we already know who the villain is.
They're also upset because there's a mention made that Rey's parents aren't significant.
They're
just
not.
Basically bums.
They're bums.
I don't personally. They are right, exactly.
Bums.
I personally don't believe that line.
No, I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. I think he's playing with her when he tells her that.
I think he's playing with her emotions. Yeah.
Because if her parents were like this, well, then she wouldn't be where she is at this point.
They're also confused. Fans are confused by the last shot of the movie, which, if you've seen
Don't give it away.
Well, it's nothing spoilery. It cuts to
It's a cute scene.
It's a great scene involving a little kid who is a slave on another planet who you see visually has force abilities. And the film ends with him looking up at what could be a shooting star or a spaceship in the distance.
Yeah.
Or Carrie Fisher's ship burning up in orbit.
But it points towards the
well,
fact
she's dead. It's not like she's coming back. Right. They got to do something with her.
It's going to be an interesting cross.
That's going to be kind of weird. You know what? She's still alive at the end of this movie.
The idea was Force Awakens.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That she's still alive, and I would have thought they would have found a way to kill her.
Well, they had the out.
They had an out. There's an out in the movie where they could have done it.
Yeah, that was a scene where, not giving away, that they were going to sit up there and go, okay, everybody's going to say goodbye to Carrie Fisher's character. But then it was like, no.
The game plan was Force Awakens was going to be Han-centric. It was going to be Han Solo-centric. This film was going to be Luke Skywalker heavy.
And the third film
was going to be Carrie Fisher heavy. Have to see how that's going to play out. But the fans are upset because basically it did not turn out the way their little fan minds thought it was going to turn out.
They're big fan minds. Excuse me. Big fan minds. They're big, happy fan minds.
I'm a fan.
I'm writing their own movie.
I'm in the bag for Star Wars movies to begin with. And so I'm a fan. I would rather be surprised. This is the first time I've been surprised by a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a good thing. I love nostalgia. That's why Force Awakens works as well as it does, is because it relies on nostalgia. Chewie, We've Come Home probably sold so many tickets for that movie. But you can't keep doing that. You've got to propel this thing.
Well, Rogue One was going back and rechewing your cud. Yeah. And the Han Solo movie, since he's going to be a young Han Solo, is going to be going back and rechewing your cud. So I mean, it looks like, I guess, the odd numbered movies. Not the one that just came out.
Not the chapter films.
Not the chapter ones, but the odd ones are going to be chewing your cud.
Right.
And the chapter ones are going to be moving
propelling it forward. Yeah. Which the fans are just going to have to
do. I guess.
And you've got one other scene the fans are complaining about, which we can't spoil, but it's a scene in which actual science happens.
Midichlorians return?
No.
No, there's no talk of that.
The return of midichlorians?
No, we don't talk
about
I
love midichlorians.
No, we see actual science, and they go, huh?
Well, have you heard the story?
Does the Enterprise show up?
There's a scene in the film that plays out silently for 10 seconds.
Yes.
There are theaters that are having to put up signs at the box office saying that is not a mistake.
Right.
It's an artistic choice. There's a silent 10 seconds in this movie. It's a ship ramming another ship at light speed. The ship goes into light speed and rams another ship, and the director plays it out in silence. And it's a great piece.
But in Star Wars, ships scream in space.
But people have said, "Hey, the sound went out.
There's no sound in space.
Where's no sound?
There is no sound in space.
Not in the fantasy world. Not in the fantasy world of Star Wars. Ships scream in space.
Theaters have since taken that warning.
They've taken it down
because they're like.
But it's amazing to me that people would complain about that. Like, they would not understand.
It's like 15 seconds.
It's not even that.
It's like a 2.5-hour movie you're whining about, like 10 seconds?
But
really?
look what that silence does to the power of that scene.
The scene's better because of that scene. Because there's no sound.
Well, that sounds like a lot of what Battlestar Galactica did. When they redid Battlestar Galactica. The new version. I remember the pilot. You had this one scene where the future president, the woman, she's on board this ship, and the Cylons are coming to. They're shooting rockets at this one ship that just got off, and this little girl got left behind with someone, and the president did it on purpose. Right. And you're watching that from the vantage point of the other ship, and then in outer space, and it's silent, and you silently watch the ship blow up, and you know this little girl's on board. And it is a hell of a lot more affecting than boom, 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 bang, 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 bang. Because you're watching it in total silence, and you're watching the ship blow up.
What we're talking about here, it's fandom, and it's not just relegated to Star Wars. We just went through this with Justice League.
Yeah.
We hate Zack Snyder since Batman vs. Superman. He sucks. Get him out of there. But now we want his director's cut because all is forgiven, and we hate Joss Whedon. Yeah. So you give them this, and I'm holding up my left hand for those of you listening at home. They want that, and that's my right hand. So fans need to decide what it is exactly you want, and at this point, the only thing they want is to be able to complain.
Yes. Do they want Luke as a villain, though?
He's not a villain.
He's not a villain.
He's not a villain. He's just a broken man.
He's not a villain.
Broken man.
He's someone who's like, I'm done. His life is over with, and I've moved on. I'm on my little island.
It's time for the Jedi to
I'm
come
fine where I am, and everyone can leave me alone.
And like I said in my review, there's a line.
Kids, get off my lawn.
Basically. There's a line in the trailer where he says, "This is not going to turn out the way you think."
And it's a perfect line.
And that's the perfect line to describe the movie.
Although there's no complaining about the porgs. Why is nobody complaining about the porgs? I have no problem.
There's a great scene where Chewie dines.
I love the porgs.
The impression I got from when I first saw it was, we're bringing the Ewoks back.
No, not to that extent.
No, not even close.
Oh, Ewoks.
No. They're just complementary parts of the film. They really have no value other than just being there.
That island has a
nutritional value from what I've heard.
Yes.
A lot of things that Rian Johnson does with that island in the film, and that you see distant shots of things swimming in the water, like beasts in the water that don't get a second look, but they're there. Yeah. And that harkens back to Lucas and having things happening in every damn corner.
Yeah, or the whole bit where Luke's getting milk from this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
What the hell?
Milking some sort of giant creature.
Right. Still blue milk, right?
No.
Oh, it's not blue?
No,
it's not blue.
Man, I love that blue milk. Moving on to the other great science fiction franchise, Star Trek. I hear that Quentin Tarantino is doing Star Trek.
Yeah.
An R-rated Star Trek.
An R-rated Star Trek. Is this what the world really needs?
This is Paramount's desperation level. It really is, and I don't mean to make that sound pithy, but
it feels an awful lot like flop sweat.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they had a big success. J.J. Abrams' first film. The second film did even better worldwide, but the third film kind of fell off the table. So now Paramount's looking to keep this thing going because honestly, outside of Mission Impossible and Star Trek, Paramount doesn't have a whole lot.
Well, no, Transformers.
But that's reaching its natural conclusion too. So
you know what? Not to get off of the Star Trek subject because I really hate Transformers. But you know what Transformers really needs right now? It needs a reboot with a new director.
Yeah.
With a new vision.
It's a very limited premise to begin with.
It's a limited presence.
What new vision is it? They're toys that turn into big giant.
Yeah, before like I said, I've never.
What are you gonna do?
I've never liked Transformers. I've never liked the movies, but I've seen enough of the movies running in the background here at the store, and 5 films now so far they've done with that thing.
With Bumblebee on the way.
Yeah, after 5 films,
John Cena's in Bumblebee.
After 5 films, the look of that thing could be retooled into something a little more comic booky.
Well, it does have that typical Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Yes, it is
sepia tone thing going on all the
time. But anyway, back to Star Trek.
Well, Star Trek, Paramount is desperate to get Star Trek motion picture wise off the ground again, and bringing in Tarantino. The idea is Tarantino had an idea for a Star Trek movie.
And he talked to J.J. Abrams, and Abrams went.
They went to Paramount, and Paramount said, we'll set up a writer's room. We're going to get you 4 guys. Pick one who you think can do the job. They've picked a writer. He wrote The Revenant.
He wrote The Revenant.
And
so you're going to have Kirk fighting up there and getting his army
going to fight giant bear and be eaten by bears.
And the idea is that a script will be written.
Yeah.
Tarantino's off to do his Charles Manson movie now. And then Star Trek. I personally don't think this is going to play out. I don't think Tarantino's going to direct this.
I don't
think it's never going to get out of the box.
I think, I think it'll happen.
No, it's going to happen.
He'll take a co-screenwriting credit, an executive producer credit, but I don't think he'll direct it.
I don't think he's going to direct
it. It will be an R-rated Star Trek movie, which for
R-rated.
me, as an old school fan who was around in '66, we're getting farther and farther away from.
I can't wait till Kirk says the magic word that's seen in all Tarantino films.
The F word. Do we need a Star Trek that has F words in it? I don't think so.
Well,
but then again, you don't know because he said Tarantino. He is a big Star Trek fan. He's a geek.
Well, if you remember the sub movie with Sean Connery that he did a pass on the screenplay for.
Yeah,
There's
Red
a Star
October.
Crimson
Red
Tide.
October.
Crimson Tide.
Oh, Crimson Tide. That's it. Not the Connery one. Crimson Tide. He drops a Star Trek reference in the screenplay. He is a fan. And again, I'd like to see somebody new be brought to the table for Star Trek. But is Quentin Tarantino that guy?
Well, I think the big problem you've got with Star Trek right now is
it's not Star Wars.
Well, no, that's what Paramount wants. They want the movies to be Star Wars. And J.J. Abrams took it as a job, not because he gives a damn about Star Trek. And you need somebody who gives a shit about Star Trek to take over the franchise and work it. Paramount wants, like I said, Star Wars in the theaters. CBS is giving you
something resembling Star Trek on television.
Something resembling Star Trek, and I don't know how everybody feels about this, but the Orville is giving you Next Generation. Season 8. Orville is pretty much Next Generation season 8.
I just recently watched.
By the way, I have a question for you. Is Brandon Braga dead?
No.
He's co-executive producer on Orville.
On Orville? Well,
yeah, I just saw. I
picked up for a second.
I watched an episode this morning with my daughter, and I saw his name on the opening credits, and I wasn't even looking for it. I was just looking at it and said Brandon Braga, and it's like, oh, well, that answers a lot.
That's a show I just revisited again because after the first 2 episodes, I sort of gave up on it, and then I watched the most recent 2 episodes, and man, if you take out the juvenile humor out of the thing,
I know that's the thing.
That would be a heck of a Star Trek series.
He is doing a great job of aping Next Generation.
He's emulating Star Trek very well, and it's just got that hurdle to get over of fart jokes and pee jokes.
Well, that's Seth MacFarlane. Fart jokes and pee jokes.
And that's part of the problem. Seth MacFarlane should not be the captain of
that
ship.
Not be
as much as he loves Star Trek and as much as it's his show, I really don't need to see him sitting in a captain's chair.
That's another thing. He's just not a very good screen presence for me.
No.
Comes off very smarmy.
No. But anyway, wrapping it up with Tarantino. So you guys don't think that's going to happen? I mean,
No,
the script will happen.
The film is going to happen.
But I don't think Tarantino will direct.
Well, it's going to come down to who the director is then.
Right. He'll probably handpick somebody.
I mean, if he doesn't direct, then who are they going to get to direct it?
Paramount's got a bunch of people hanging around they can pick to direct it.
Yeah.
Abrams won't do it because he's doing
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay, Star Trek.
No, it won't be.
Michael Bay.
I don't think
they could have him walking down the corridor in slow motion, shoulder to shoulder.
They don't really hang out in the same area.
Tarantino and Michael Bay would not be a good mix.
No, it's not a good mix. That's it.
You know, we haven't talked about Justice League with you. What did you think of Justice League? I mean, I'm saying this having run your review on the website and knowing exactly what you think about it. But for the folks at home who haven't read
You're saying you didn't read his reviews.
Oh, yeah. He's read them. He reads them every time. He tells me so.
Yeah, I have to. I pick up all the typos.
Yeah.
Spell check.
Justice League. This was the year, we were talking about this before the show. This 2017 is probably the best year for the superhero movie. Yeah. We've had about 7 of them. Or comic book movies. Let's roll Atomic Blonde into that. I've liked everything this year except for one movie. And it was the one movie I wanted to like more than the other ones, and that was Justice League. Yeah. It's the cardinal sin of a movie. You either make a movie that's really great or you make one that's really terrible. Because if you make one that's really terrible, at least you went out on a limb and you tried, and it came out lousy. But with Justice League, it is a huge mediocrity. It lays there. It's neither good nor bad. It's not terrible. It's not great. It just sits there.
I've been saying when people ask me about Justice League, it's better than Batman versus Superman, which is moving in the right direction, but it's not a good film.
And it's not saying a lot.
It's
not a good movie. It's not a good movie.
And it's not a bad. It's not a good movie. I'm starting to sound like Roger Ebert here. It's not a good movie, but it's not a bad movie. So it's up to you whether or not you go out and see it. It's not a terrible movie. No, but if it's what it's not. It's not the Avengers.
It's definitely not the Avengers.
Which is what it should have been and what they wanted it to be.
It's a mediocrity. It sits there and you watch it, and when it's over and the house lights come up, it's out of your head. Because it doesn't have a central villain that's compelling. It doesn't have any stakes that are compelling that the audience can get into. It's got a lot of unfinished business with Superman that it tries to rush through and doesn't really pull off very successfully. It has a Batman who looks like he'd rather be someplace else. Well, it has Wonder Woman.
The Superman thing that you were just talking about, it fixes something that never should have had to have been fixed in the first place. Right. So the fact that they don't spend a lot of time fixing it doesn't bother me that much, because we never should have stepped in this bear trap.
But the things that Whedon does to fix Superman happen very late in the film, and by that point, you really don't care anymore. I mean, it does have Wonder Woman, it has Gal Gadot in it, and she's equally as good as she was in her own film.
She smirks a lot.
She does that, but she also has a screen presence that a lot of these people don't.
Yeah, she does.
Does anybody really remember Cyborg in this thing?
No.
I mean, do Warner Brothers really think they're going to get a Cyborg movie out of that character as shown in Justice League? That anybody's going to care about that?
Actually, I liked Cyborg not as much as I liked Flash, but I liked Cyborg in the thing because I could see that what that actor was doing, you could take that somewhere. In another movie, all about Cyborg.
I don't know if there's enough there to support an entire movie on his own.
I don't know.
Flash, a lot of the Flash stuff is Whedon. It's a comedy relief. I mean, it's the world's fastest man who has no sense of direction. That's Joss Whedon written all over it. And most of that stuff works. The best of it for me is the Superman stuff at the very end where he's having a hearty laugh with Cyborg. Yeah. That's the first time I felt like Henry Cavill's performance has any level of humanity, anything you can latch onto as a human being and like about that character.
Well, he's not a mopey-dopey guy anymore.
Well, that needed to go a long time ago. That should have never happened to begin with.
Like I said, it's a bear trap that we never should have stepped in.
You should have had a mustache.
But man, I don't care. I don't care about a CG monstrosity that's looking for the magic rings or the magic boxes. I don't care about that.
I need my magic boxes.
Yeah. None of that rings for me at all.
I need my magic boxes.
It's dull. It's really a dull film, and it shouldn't have been.
No, it shouldn't have been. It should have been. Considering all the lead-in they had with this thing and all the wind-up pitching they did for it, I mean, it's really a misfire.
And you would think there would be some of the halo effect from Wonder Woman having just come out previous to that, but none of that carries over here. It just lays there, unfortunately. It's too bad. It's a big disappointment.
Okay, that's it for media news, and we'll be right back with comic book news. You know, folks, there really is no other store that has as many sales as Alternate Reality. Beyond our signature sale of 15% off all new comics, we also have specialized sales peppered throughout the week, month, and year. For example, did you know that every Thursday is Ladies' Day at the store? That's right, ladies. Stop by the store and you'll save 20% off all of your purchases all day long. Ladies from 8 to 80 get a 20% discount on everything all day, every Thursday, only at Alternate Reality. Bo?
Yeah.
That was a long commercial. Wow.
I tell you.
I went out and made food.
I get wordy. Bendis. Last news we did, we talked a lot about Brian Michael Bendis.
Yes.
It's been a couple of weeks.
Yes.
How's he doing?
He's at home. He feels better. Apparently, he can see out of both eyes now, which is a good thing. And while he was in the hospital, which is weird, he was still writing comics, even though he only had one eye and at one point no eyes.
Good Lord.
He was dictating his scripts into a dictaphone.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, and now they're transcribing.
They still make dictaphones?
They still make them. The voice recorder on your cell phone. It's your dictaphone.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he was writing scripts. So none of his stuff is going to be delayed as far as we can tell. And we've got a hint of what his first book is going to be over at DC. It's going to be Superman.
It's a Superman book. Is it Superman or is it a
Superman
book?
Plain Superman. Plain old Superman. Ivan Reis, Joe Prado are going to be the art team. This was leaked up by a Brazilian website because Ivan Reis happens to be Brazilian. And really? I think Joe Prado is as well. There's a bunch of Brazilian artists working over at DC. They have American names. They're all working from Brazil.
Okay.
So,
well, Prado and Rice are good artists.
And they are really good. And the book will be on time because Ivan Reis he can do 2 books a month.
Yeah.
He's going to be quick. So the books won't be late. They'll probably double ship them, but that'll be the first Bendis book that we know of. They may start announcing more books that he's doing by the beginning of the year because his contract begins on January the 1st or the 2nd.
Yeah. And
they've already said, well, this is up at Marvel. But apparently, Bleeding Cool had a story about the fact that this is part of a fight between Dan DiDio and Jeff Johns.
Before you get into that, the corporate structure over at DC.
Yes.
Dan DiDio is in charge of DC Comics, but Jeff
Johns is in charge of DC Entertainment,
which is the parent company.
So technically, Jeff Johns is Dan DiDio's boss, but because this is Warner's, of course, it's screwed up.
Yeah.
So apparently, Johns told a bunch of people who he usually works with, artist-wise, on his books, I don't want you working for Bendis because I didn't want Bendis to be brought over here in the first place.
What's his problem with Bendis?
Encroaching on his territory.
What territory? He's not writing anything.
He's
doing Doomsday Clock. He hasn't written anything for a while.
He'd love to do more stuff. He'd like to do more comic stuff. Diane Nelson stops him from doing the stuff. But Brian Bendis is actually a bigger name than Jeff Johns.
Well, in the world of comics.
You could arguably say he's John's equal, if not better, as far as writing is concerned.
Yeah. And if Johns was allowed to write more often, which the DC corporate structure will let him doing, we'd be thinking about that. But he's not.
Well, Bendis is a machine when it comes to writing.
Bendis is going to do he can do 3 to 4 books a month.
Yeah.
Period.
As a side note, who's writing the Action Comics $30?
No, it's $50 now.
No, it's down to 30 again.
Oh, it's down to 30?
That changed back again today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that's not the actual comic, is it? Or is it a companion piece to the comic?
There's nothing in the Diamond catalog yet for an Action 1000 except for the $30.
That's a companion, but that's a companion.
It's
a compilation of old stories.
Well,
it's listed as that as companion.
Yeah. This is what I've heard, and look at me doing comic book news, like I know what I'm talking about. I've heard that there will be the hardcover book, the 30, maybe 50, but maybe 30 book, and an actual issue 1000, which will be probably $10 or something.
$9.99.
The book will have that issue plus reprint material and behind-the-scenes interviews and blah, blah, blah.
And the only thing we know about Action 1000 comic-wise is a story in there by Richard Donner.
DC has
Yes.
DC has been mining out the $9.99 price point for a while. The Halloween special, the Christmas special, and there's a Valentine's Day special. They all have a $9.99 price point. They were all really good books. They're all anthology books, sort of like what Action's probably going to be. They're all anthology books. They're almost square bound. They're more in keeping with the old 100-page super spectaculars, except with glossy covers. They've got that square binding, but it's like a paste binding.
Elseworld binding.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And they've been mining that price point now for a while, and people haven't seemed to blink about it. Those aren't big sellers to begin with.
Yeah.
Because they're holiday books.
Yeah.
So this will be the first time they've done it with an actual book. I'm assuming at $9.99, it's not going to sell as many copies as the standard issues do.
Probably not.
Hardcore fans will get it, but most people won't.
It'll be loaded though.
Yeah,
that'll be the thing you'll find in Barnes and Noble. Will be that $30.
Probably. Well, the book, yeah. The companion. Now Donner's the Donner story. Where'd that come from?
It's an original story.
Okay, it's just been sitting around, or he
think
he wrote it for this.
I think they commissioned it because they were going to do the Action 1000. I mean, they may have commissioned it like a year or so ago, but they knew the number was coming up.
Yeah.
So they knew it was coming, and so they had to get all their ducks in a row because you don't want the book to be late.
I heard they was pushing it back because of that.
Well, they haven't solicited it yet.
Because they were
doing January previews.
They were doing the advertising for it, and then they said, "Well, we got all this stuff planned for this monumental issue, so it's not going to be on the regular schedule."
Maybe a special solicit of something.
And yeah, or it could be a retro solicit. It pops up in the Diamond catalog a month before it's supposed to ship.
I find it pretty interesting that after all these years, we still go back to Richard Donner for our Superman.
Richard Donner.
I'm not complaining either.
Donner's Superman and Raimi's Spider-Man are two movies that people who make future movies based on those characters will not be able to get around. I mean, you're going to have to go a ways to top those films. Nobody has done anything with Spider-Man yet to top the first two Raimis, and nobody has done anything with Superman yet to top Donner's first Superman and his aborted second one. Then that's just the way it is. Now Batman's different. You can Keaton's with Tim Burton. That was eclipsed by
Nolan.
Yeah, that was eclipsed by Nolan. But Nolan was doing something completely different.
Right.
And I suppose that would be the way to go if you're going to do that. Eclipse it with something completely different. But that wasn't.
They tried that.
That wasn't Batman.
Yeah, they tried that.
I mean, what Nolan did was great, and it was interesting. It wasn't really Batman. That guy's not going to show up at a Justice League meeting.
No, but
as
far as I'm concerned, he doesn't.
It wasn't a comic book.
Yeah, he doesn't
have to.
No, and that's fine. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you take that second film, Dark Knight, and you can put that way up high on the pedestal of comic book movie.
Oh, it's more than just a comic book movie. That Dark Knight, that transcends a comic.
Even the first one.
That was part of that Kirkman thing, the one I watched last night about the 9/11 thing. They talked about Raimi's Spider-Man, and they talked about Donner's Superman, and they talked about Nolan's Dark Knight. Yeah. And those are the three movies they talked about.
Right. Yeah. Even the first Nolan Batman film, Batman Begins, that origin, it has never been treated that beautifully on screen. I mean, it takes some elements that could be kind of ham-fisted, the bat flying into the room, and it does it really well.
But that's Christopher Nolan said recently, those films would have never happened.
They will not. They would not happen.
It wouldn't have happened now.
Well, it happened at a time when the license was fallow. It was right after Batman and Robin. That debacle. And as far as Warner's was concerned, it was time to put Batman away for another decade. Yeah. And then maybe trot him back out again because we pretty much burned him out. I don't know the actual thing about how Nolan got hooked up with it, but Nolan came along and he had a completely different idea for the character, and Warner said, "Well, okay, sure, based on what you've done before, do the first one, see what happens." And
what are you going to do next? Well, I got this idea for this Batman thing. Okay, go for it. Because when Nolan comes up with an idea, Warner goes, "Go for it. We're not going to tell you no."
And they didn't get in his face either.
No. That's the great thing about Nolan. They leave him alone. Whatever the hell he wants to do, he does it.
Well, why does Warner's leave him alone and nobody else? Because Warner seems to be doing nothing.
Because Warner's
screw around with directors.
Because Warner's is going. If we start bothering him, he'll just go somewhere else, and we'd rather he stuck around with us.
Well, what about all the other people that they've gotten on board that could be sticking around instead they screw around with?
Well, that was before,
like Suicide Squad, or even Zack Snyder. I mean, there was interference there with Zack Snyder too.
Yeah, Nolan doesn't do notes.
Anyway, Zack Snyder needs all the help he can get.
And Snyder needs help. Yeah.
Anyways, this comic book news. On the other side of the ledger is Marvel.
The Christmas Massacre.
Christmas Massacre, yes. Marvel has canceled a bunch of B titles.
Yeah. The lowest, all the books they canceled are all low selling. You got the list right here.
Yeah. And so far, as we record this.
Well, the Diamond catalog is shipped. That's it so far.
Well, Bleeding Cool, I've read what they said about this. If the book doesn't show up in the next previews, we're going to assume that it's canceled, which you can and can't do because that happens all the time with Image. There's a book called Manifest Destiny at Image. It disappears for months on end, and then it comes back, and it runs for a while, and then it disappears again for months on end, and then it comes back.
Defenders disappeared also solicitations, but they said they may have to do with Bendis being sick. Yeah. The book hasn't officially been canceled.
You've got She-Hulk, Luke Cage, Gwenpool, Hawkeye, America, Generation X, and Iceman all have apparently gotten the axe.
Yes, they're all gone.
Along with possibly Defenders.
But Defenders, basically, they skipped a month. It might be 2 more issues. I think it's going to go to 12 issues.
But the Defenders is actually selling okay. Compared to these numbers on these books, Defenders was actually selling okay.
And you're getting to the point now where Marvel's getting ready to start announcing all the people who were replacing Bendis on the books that he's working on. So.
I'm assuming these cancellations will be followed by new legacy type books, more mainstream books.
Well,
most of these books, She-Hulk obviously isn't. She's been around forever.
Well, Jean Grey got canceled because she's the leader of X-Men Red.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like, well, we're replacing this book for this book. Iceman got canceled, which will probably be replaced by X-Men Black.
Yeah.
Or Weapon X, or whatever the hell they're going to call the thing.
But these books, I mean, most of them are the social justice warrior stuff.
And they're also books that don't sell.
They don't sell.
Yeah.
But they'll probably be replaced by legacy type books.
Yeah.
You know, you might have Hawkeye come back and it'll be Clint Barton.
The fact that Hawkeye lasted after Brubaker and Aja left is amazing. I mean, Jeff Lemire did a pretty good run at it, but you know, this run is okay, but it's not like the other two.
Yeah.
You know, America is a nice book, but did you actually think that was going to sell?
No.
Gwenpool was quirky. Luke Cage worked, but David Walker said the book wasn't selling.
Even with the Netflix series,
even with the Netflix series to support it, it wasn't selling enough to justify its existence. So this could be the first C.B. Cebulski influence in the Marvel. These books aren't selling.
Cut them.
Kill them.
Yeah.
We can come up with 7 or 8 other new titles. So kill them.
Remember when Quesada came in and he said, "There's 2 things we got to do: fix Spider-Man and fix the X-Men."
Yeah.
Bam, we did that.
And also, apparently in April or May, you're going to have a whole bunch of creative changes on books at Marvel. Nick Spencer taking over Amazing, and apparently Peter Parker and Mary Jane, they're getting back together.
Yeah, that was a teaser that popped up. I think it's the
they're going to get
the Last Goblin storyline. It's called Going Down Swinging.
Yeah, they're going to get around Mephisto.
Yeah, they said that. That's apparently going to be a workaround. I guess Nick Spencer came up with an idea because that's the end of Dan Slott's run.
Right.
Well, Dan Slott, he's the guy that fixed Spider-Man.
Yeah.
What you're just talking about.
Yeah.
You know, we have to fix Spider-Man. We have to fix it.
He fixed it.
Dan Slott was the guy who fixed it. And Dan Slott was doing miniseries on Spider-Man for about 2 years before he came on board. Mm-hmm. He did a series of miniseries which sold okay. Yeah. I don't remember them ever selling well, you know, but they were miniseries.
They sold well enough to get by.
They sold well enough to get by, but Marvel saw something there with him that he could take over the book.
And Slott was the guy who, before he got to Marvel, he did an Arkham book over at DC, which was quite well done. Yeah. And then, of course, his DC's history, they let him go.
So he goes over to Marvel.
He goes over to Marvel and takes over Spider-Man. It's like,
Spider-Man becomes one of their top sellers.
Yeah.
There's a long and storied history of that happening. DC gets a Marvel writer after they've worked at Marvel for like 8, 9, 10 years. Something happens where, you know, the magic just isn't there. Yeah. Whatever magic was at Marvel doesn't transfer over. There's a long history of that. Vice versa. Yeah. DC usually gets new young writers or artists in, keep them for a while, and then they migrate over to Marvel and become huge.
Yeah. It's a talent thing.
Yeah. And for some reason, DC has a hard time pushing talent forward and keeping talent hot.
Well,
once they get it.
They find the talent's there, the talent gets hot, and then someone in the editorial ticks them off and they leave.
Well, Chris Claremont's a great example of that. He came over to Marvel to DC after he left Marvel and had no impact at all on the DC universe. He was there like 5 years.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow.
I mean, Sovereign Seven.
To this day, nobody remembers.
And that's the only thing you remember. Sovereign Seven.
Yeah, but nobody remembers Sovereign Seven.
No. Or Stan Lee.
Stan Lee was work for hire. That was a work. Yeah. That was a work for hire publicity thing. You know, look, we've got Stan Lee, and he's going to do 12 books for us.
Which don't mean the crap.
Which don't mean anything.
You look at him and you still go,
"What the hell?"
Well, Stan Lee is going to totally reimagine these 6 or 8 or 12 or whatever it was characters, and the problem with it was he reimagined all those characters, so they're absolutely nothing like what anyone was expecting.
Yeah, it's like going back to the Kirkman thing. You know, the first one they did about Stan and Jack. You know, Jack goes over to DC and they go, "He can't write."
You're talking about Secret History of Comics?
Yeah, he can't write. What the hell? He has no ear for dialogue. Why is he here?
That seems to be a continuing thing in comics where somebody tells a great artist, "Hey, you should write something."
You should write something.
That's a mistake.
Todd McFarlane.
Well, Todd McFarlane, John Byrne,
Neil Adams,
Byrne, you know, Walt Simonson.
Walt Simonson. Walt Simonson.
Well, I'm not saying that these are all bad writers and bad artists, but there are artists originally who went on to become writer-artists.
Yeah.
Neil Adams.
Yeah, Neil Adams.
Oh, God.
Love Neil Adams' artwork, but man, that guy.
Man, that Dead Man series. Woo.
Hey, that's a great series. It's still going on, and we're selling it here at Alternate Reality.
Hey, it looks great, but people are not buying that book because of the writing.
Adams, this is Adams' third or fourth series at DC, I think, in the last couple of years. Well, Batman Odyssey was broken down into two, so technically it was two. Then Superman, Man of Tomorrow, and now Dead Man.
Dead Man.
But the only thing he hasn't gone back and revisited yet is Green Lantern and Green Arrow.
Right. Yeah.
And I assume that's coming.
That's probably going to happen
at some point.
More likely Green Arrow. Push that book up.
Yeah.
That wouldn't help. They said there's nothing wrong with the current Green Arrow book that an artist wouldn't cure.
Okay. And that's it. We're done with comic book news. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Bo's favorite feature, the Rorschach test.
Oh, God, not the Rorschach.
Oh, God. Hey, folks, Comic Book Man here. Most people don't know this, but I got my start in comics retail on February 20th, 1978, when I became the store manager of the Comic Book Emporium. 16 years later, I opened Alternate Reality on August 20th, 1994. Like Superman's penchant for double L's, it seems the 20th has always been an important part of my life. I respect that heritage, which is why we have a Founders Day sale on the 20th of each month here at the store. Every 20th, stop by and you'll save 20% off all of your purchases all day long, only at Alternate Reality. And we're back. JR!
Oh, what?
I'm going to throw this at you.
Sure.
Oh, you're the
hey,
first
don't throw
victim.
that at me.
I'm going to throw
You're
this
the first victim.
What are you, a baboon?
I'm going to throw this at you.
You throwing feces?
Rorschach test. I'm going to give you a word, a name, a something, and I want you to tell me the first thing. Thing that comes in your mind.
All right, I'm ready.
Bo always screws this up.
Skittles.
Bo always screws this up.
I'll probably think about it too much.
If I gave Bo stoplight, he would give me the history of some stoplight manufacturing company.
Gil Smith.
And it's like, that's not what I was asking for. But I'm going to give you a name, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
James Tiberius Kirk.
Hero. You want me to elaborate, or are we doing just one word? Well, to me, growing up at the age of 6 when Star Trek first began, I looked at Kirk as being a hero. Not so much William Shatner. Yeah. He's an SOB.
Hey!
No, he's a unique actor.
He's a unique individual.
He's a unique individual. We love him. We hate him. Whatever you want to say. But Captain Kirk will go down as one of the great television heroes of all time.
Jim, get out of your parents' basement.
Exactly. Hey, look, Luke Skywalker was supposed to be... No, I'm just kidding.
He's actually James Kirk's illegitimate son.
Rodney, James Tiberius Kirk.
Love the character, hate the actor. Yeah. I have to agree with him on that.
What is your problem with William Shatner?
What is it about Shatner you don't like? And what is it about Kirk that you like?
Okay, your store's down the street from a supermarket that sells ham, right?
We're down the street from a lot of bars.
That's all I need to say. Yeah, ham is in regards to that. That's what that's my feeling about.
Do you consider it overacting? Or selling the character?
No. I consider, like I said, ham for 5 cents a pound.
I'm going to be very generous here and say that William Shatner has a unique acting style.
I would say that too, and I understand what you're saying about the ham part of it. Everybody's sort of warmed to that, though. That's become sort of his trademark. I'm talking about more the egotistical side of
Thank you. All you have to do is watch not even a full episode, half an episode of T.J. Hooker, and just go.
Yeah. There's a level of ego.
There's a reason why I dislike this guy.
Did you ever see any episodes of what was that talk show? William Shatner's Hot Seat or William Shatner's Hot Needle or something, right. Where he would interview people. I think there was a half-hour show.
Right.
When he got older and stuff, and he started getting more and more into himself, it's more like a caricature of him being what William Shatner was. You could probably have stuck someone else in the role for playing Kirk. Back at the time. Well, who was working at the time? Who was there at the time? Because I do love Kirk. Like I said, he's one of the best guys.
What do you like about Kirk?
Kirk is...
that's the point of this thing is Kirk is James Tiberius Kirk, not William Shatner.
Right. Well,
hard to divorce the two, though.
That's what I'm saying. Well, funny enough, it was when they rebooted Star Trek, and they had Chris Pine playing the character Kirk, and they basically went back into where how he became Kirk and everything. Kirk was a jerk. He was doing this and everything, but now he has his responsibility. And when Star Trek comes on, you want Kirk in that chair. There's people on the ship that's smarter than him. Yeah. There's a stronger than him and probably more analytical, but Kirk adds that human touch that we can relate to, and that was sort of like the guy you looked up to in Star Trek.
Right.
He was the guy that knew that there was a smarter person and a stronger person.
Right.
How to put those together and make the team.
And not to keep going back to the reboot, but you sort of saw, as a kid, I kept going, well, if Spock can do this, why can't Spock run the ship and let Kirk be the RORSCHACH? Well, this reboot said right there why Spock can't run the ship and Kirk is supposed to be the guy that runs the ship.
You have to have emotion.
You can talk about more than one James Tiberius Kirk. I mean, I'm throwing the name out there. I didn't throw William Shatner's name out there.
Oh, well,
I mean, you talk about the reboot. There's also Star Trek Continues.
Right, Star Trek Continues.
Yeah.
I've always gone back to the original. I mean, no matter what I'm doing, I can be sitting at home. It's like, oh, Star Trek's on. Didn't you already watch it? I'm watching it now. Star Trek's on there. Yeah. So I have no problem rewatching the old ones, even though I still put it on there. Well, I can't help it. I'm
going to go out on a limb here and say probably everyone sitting at this table knows most Star Trek backwards and forwards.
That's why I tend to avoid watching the reruns, because I've seen them enough and I don't need to see them again.
Okay, well, good for you. Well, good for you. You get a gold star.
No, thank you.
Okay. You, Mouthy.
Hairpiece.
James Tiberius Kirk.
Hairpiece.
That's it?
Wow.
Hairpiece. Okay.
William Shatner is memorable.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about Shatner. James Tiberius Kirk. You can talk about Shatner, but talk about Kirk.
A kid from Iowa who lucked out and got good.
No, that's you're short selling the character. I think there's more to that character than that. I think Abrams. You could say what you want about Abrams' reboot and whether or not it should have happened.
Actually, I like Chris Pine as Kirk.
But that version of Kirk it imagines Kirk in the first film as sort of a spoiled frat boy.
Yeah.
And by the time you hit the third movie, he's matured and he's grown into the seat. He becomes that's something the TV series never did, but you could probably make that leap to say that's probably how that version of Kirk went as well.
More than likely, yeah.
He kind of survived through his arrogance and learned how to fine tune it and hone it where it needs to go. But yeah, I don't want to short sell that character by reducing him to a hairpiece. I think there's more there than. I think he's a template for a lot of heroes that came.
When I see a lot of stuff from Shatner, I think of this hairpiece.
Well, no.
Shatner 3000.
No, the point behind this exercise is what's the first thing you think of when I say James Tiberius Kirk.
Hairpiece.
Now, I would assume it'd be the same thing if I said William Shatner. You'd say hairpiece?
No, I wouldn't say. No, William Shatner. I'd say something different. Arrogant.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine.
Barbary Coast. Remember that?
That was actually a damn good show. That show was pretty good.
It was a decent.
Yeah.
That was what's his face from Dark Shadows. He was the
David Soul.
The other guy. Was it David?
No, it was David Soul.
I thought it was
Selby.
No. The guy who was
his partner in that.
It
was David Soul. I think.
No. Was it? Well,
I think it was David.
Hey,
Soul.
you guys vamp.
Wikipedia.
Vamp, everybody! Talk about William Shatner.
That was a show that 6 episodes, 7 episodes. It didn't work very well, but it was William Shatner playing a master of disguise.
No, Barbary Coast went on longer than that. It was
one season.
It was one season.
Was it one season?
Well,
maybe I'm thinking of Alias Smith and Jones.
That was that's a problem because the actor got killed.
Well,
there's a little problem with that one.
That's what I like about you, Bo, and that's funny too. The guy got killed.
Hey,
that guy fell on a meat grinder.
Dennis Cole.
Oh. Dennis Cole and who else?
Doug McClure.
Doug McClure.
Doug McClure.
Oh, man, I love Doug McClure.
I met Dennis Cole.
Doug season wonder, 75 to 76.
Doug McClure was a poor man's William Shatner.
Yes,
but Doug McClure always got work.
Oh, you remember what was that show, Probe?
Roddenberry show.
Probe. That was not a Roddenberry show. That was actually a show.
Oh, no.
Search.
The pilot, man, we are such nerds. The pilot was called Probe, but the TV series was called Search.
With Burgess Meredith sitting in the middle of the control room.
That was created by the Outer Limits creator. I can't think of it.
Joe Stefano?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
It's a weird name, that's why I don't
Stefano.
Yeah, Search. That was sort of a take on Name of the Game.
Yeah.
Where you had 3 rotating guys,
right,
who they would rotate in and week out, and to play. One of them was
Jimmy Ferrantino.
No, you're talking about Name of the Game.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking Name of the Game. You're right. Doug McClure. Hey.
No. Cool Million.
Cool Million. Yeah.
Yeah, it was part of the little mystery wheel.
The third guy was Hugh
O'Brien.
Hugh O'Brien.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Another poor man's William Shatner.
No, he was a poor man James Arness.
Actually, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, you talk about other actors that could have possibly played Kirk, somebody like a Robert Conrad or something, but that brings a whole different dynamic to the.
Yeah, if it was Conrad, Robert Conrad, every other scene would be him beating the crap out of somebody.
Yeah.
Or getting the crap beat out of him.
I always liked the miscasting choice they had. Jack Lord.
Was
in line to play Kirk, and he didn't. He passed on it, and that's when they went to Shatner.
Right.
But Lord was set up to do it.
Exactly, and then I believe
I forget when something came up. It wasn't a wife. Something came up and stopped him from doing it, and that's why they had to go to Shatner.
And Martin Landau was in line to play Spock.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, and that's it. We're done. We're finished. We're out of here. We got no more time for news today, but Be sure to go to the store's website, myalternatereality.com, where you can read Bo's News, which I update every day. I just did a huge update 2 days ago.
Huge?
On the news. It's like 9 days worth of news.
Oh, my God.
Did a huge update on his news, and where you can read JR's reviews. He's got reviews that go back.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're there.
He has reviews that go back to the year 2000 on the website.
When the reviews pop up, I read them.
He's been doing 17 years worth of reviews. And JR's a good writer, and Bo's a okay writer. And you should go to the store's website and check that stuff out, along with all the rest of the stuff that's on there about alternate.
Where's your feature on the website?
I provide sound.
You provide sound. Yes, he's going to provide sound.
You got the theme.
Okay. Until next time, though, this is Comic Book Man. JR.
And this is JR.
This is Ryan.
This is Bo.
Saying...
Bye!